Rio, and actually I can just hear a little bit myself through
Okay,
the
then now we
live.
have to put the laptops on silence, right?
Mine is on silent.
All right, mine wasn't. Now I'm here. Okay,
It's your phone. I heard you.
it should be good now. Great.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Well, I used to live in Canada and go to Europe quite often up to 2016, but then COVID came and then I stopped going. And then eventually, when everything was over, I started going in again. And so that's how I met you and elSol. And it was amazing, right? So now I live in Europe, I live in Portugal. I made the move. Yeah. Sorry, guys, for my voice a little bit. Like, yeah, here in Brazil is really hot. And then I have to be hot, cold, and then fans
Well,
and air
actually,
conditioning.
actually, I can hear your fan. I don't
Oh,
know if
do it.
are you
Okay.
are you gonna survive one hour
No,
without the.
that's totally fine. It's not that hot just yet because it's still 9 a.m.
All
But
right,
I think now it's better. Is it better?
it's better. It's great. Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right.
Sorry.
So, what's your story as a dancer? Let's say a minute and a half, because it's gonna be a
Oh,
long
wait.
one.
Okay. That's good because it gives me boundaries, right? So, all right, let me try to do this. All right, I started dancing when I was 8 in Rio, and through my aunt. My aunt introduced me to dança de salão, which is like a ballroom dance in Brazil in the South America, right? Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, and I started dancing samba. Eventually, I started competing within samba de gafieira, and then up to the age 14, I started dancing other dances as well, like zouk, Brazilian zouk. For those of you that don't know. Um, and that my career started like going from there. When I was the age of 19, I left Brazil to go to Canada, and eventually I just like made my whole career through salsa in Canada, North America. And yeah, so through in Canada, I was able to compete, was able to participate in some competitions as well. I was able to dance in Montreal a lot. I was able to dance in New York. I studied salsa with some of the best in our, in our realm. I would say, like with Eddie Torres, Adolfo, Franklin Diaz. I was able to study with with Rodrigo as well, Rodrigo Cortazar. The time when he was in Montreal, when he used to dance with Selena Tovar and he used to live in Montreal.
All
Many
right.
people don't know that, but
Hmm.
that's usually what happened. Yeah, and that's kind of a little bit my career. I was like going around in North America and eventually started going to Europe to teach and participated to competitions.
So, how would you describe your style? You have this concept of your own special themes for classes, which I would like you to explain to people what it is, the Tumbao 360 and pyrography that we're going to do that you're going to do at elSol. So, tell us how you work, how you think, how you feel the dance and music.
Well, first of all, in order for me to jump into like how I think regarding my classes, I need to give a little bit of context. Not only a dancer, I'm also a musician. So I'm a percussionist and drummer. So I studied music at school when I was younger, and I do have this concept and ideal that in order for you to become a good dancer, you need to be able to hear the music well. You need to understand the music and the structure. And the structure of the class about 360, it's kind of like a pipeline, a way for you to be able to translate music into dancing, make your body an instrument. And I regarded the choreography, it's for me, it's the second major concept when it comes to learning, which is stress until you get it, right? So you just repeat a lot. There's a lot of dancing, there's a lot of sweating, and it's usually very intense. The structure of the class is very simple. We learn a little bit of choreography, and then you just repeat throughout the whole time. And the differential of this class from all the classes is that the music never stops. So you're like 1 hour and a half dancing full out. And that's kind of like a little bit of like my, let's say, my trademark. Every time I go somewhere to teach a class, I feel like that I'm the one that dances the most. I come like dripping in sweat, dancing with a lot of energy. That's a little bit
You
of my
know,
style.
when I heard that concept for the first time, I was like, "Oh man, I don't want to dance for 1 hour nonstop. It's too it's too exhausting." But it's actually not when you're there, like because there is a nice flow, like the way you take the people from less difficult step to a more difficult step to a like a whole structure. It's actually it's not you don't really feel like you're working that hard, although you are. So it's just to calm down our people. It's not like you're not gonna get it. You're gonna flow through it.
Yeah,
Love
so this is,
Jens is saying hello. Hi guys. Yeah, nice. Thank you for joining us to listen.
yeah, this choreography is actually my oldest class, which is it's called I Want You Lot. And I fine tuned this class a lot because I heard exactly what you said. Some people would say, "Oh, it is too fast," or some people would say it is too slow. So I need to fine tune and find like a very nice rhythm to it. And the idea, it's not to be kind of like a workout, but feel like more of a little party. That's kind of like the idea. And like how you mentioned, it was very interesting. It's kind of how to take it from the easy steps to the most difficult ones. In fact, like the way I used to call this process was from zero to hero. You go in the beginning of the
Hmm.
class from zero, and then eventually you
Hmm.
get to a point that you become a hero. So it's very, very, very interesting note.
You also get inspired a lot by Afro-Cuban dances, right?
Oh yeah.
You've been studying, so that's something also maybe worth adding, that it's based also on fusion, right? And a lot of movement inspiration.
So yeah, that's very interesting. In the last 6, 7 years, I've been investing a lot of time into learning Afro-Cuban, learning Cuban, understanding the music, timba and different tumbas, and I fell in love with this. I think like this is my new drug. I danced the mambo for a very long time, and then step into the Cuban world has opened a huge variety of opportunities when it comes to dancing, and that has made me like really evolve my style. I would say that's not my style. I don't dance linga. I don't dance Cuban. I'm a fusion dancer. I like to make that very clear because I don't like to appropriate into like other people's culture, other people's steps. But I do gauge to become, I would say, a unicorn, someone that can dance mambo really well, and someone who can understand the Afro-Cuban and casino really well as well. So I
So
do have like,
you're a
sorry.
good person. You're a good person for elSol, because we do everything on a
Oh,
very high level.
that's actually one of the things that I really loved your event. It was the fact that I could swing from a Cuban room to the main room, and just have so much fun. I actually loved that. In fact, most of my friends in the salsa world that were in that conference were Cuban. So the Cuban ones.
You were also in the bachata room and in the kizomba room. You dance
Exactly.
everything.
I try to enjoy everything a little bit.
Variety is great. I had a question, but I forgot about it. Oh, okay. So, today my memory came on my Facebook from an ad of El Sol from 10 years ago, and it was interesting because I thought 10 years, so much has changed, and I saw Juan Matos, Adolfo Intania, Afro Latin Connection, Marco Ferrigno, Super Mario, like. I thought, okay, so it looks like these names haven't changed. Terry and Cecile. It's been 10 years. I think if you look at, for instance, the bachata community, in 10 years, there's a huge rotation. I mean, there are always the top names, but there are so many new artists. And I'm thinking, are we stuck? Still the big names are those big names. We need some fresh blood in the salsa community. We need people with a fresh attitude. And the question would be, what do you think is the fresh attitude that the salsa community needs?
Well, that's a very broad topic. Like, let's start like from the surface. I would say I do believe the salsa world has a lot of opportunities, but for some reason, I do feel that there's still like that. It's almost like a duty that you have to fulfill when it comes to the history of salsa and the fear to make it evolve, which is something that I found in Cuban, that they like in the Cuban community. Let me actually rephrase. In the Cuban community,
Mhm.
like, they found a path where they keep on um, refactoring, evolving their dance. Like they added, like, I don't know, reggaeton. They add a lot of fusion, the music. Every other week there's a new song, a new Cuban song, and I feel like that they are so open to fuse, which is something really really nice. Which I feel like in the salsa linea world we do tend to preserve a lot of the history of the dance. and and to be honest, I'm like I'm a music lover. I love music, but in order to get like new people, the new community to be interested in songs that are like from 1970 and 1980s, 88 is a little bit more complicated because the songs for the new generation, TikTok generation, they're just not as interesting, not as catchy. And I feel like I know I'm opening the Pandora box right here, like by saying this. I'm a salsero. I love salsa, but this is something that I've been struggling with, even within my class, to find music that's inspiring enough that that I would say like they shake the juices from people, and this
All
has
right.
been
So now, if we have any DJs that are listening to us now, can come please now get involved and tell us we're wrong and drop us some of the fresh music for linea for for mambo dancing. Maybe we're ignorant here, because yeah, a lot of music is fusion and it's Cuban inspired. It's very fresh and it's really well recorded. So yeah, we wanna hear that. We wanna hear fresh music. Eddie, someone is saying that they don't hear you
yes.
well
Oh,
on
just one
on
second. I
Facebook.
just received a call right now. My bad. My bad. I just received a
Yeah.
call. Let me just.
Oh, okay.
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 All right. I'm back.
So yeah.
Some people are saying that they don't hear me well.
On
Um,
Facebook. On Facebook.
on Facebook, let me just see if I can improve my audio. Um, okay. Okay. How about now? If you
Let
can
us
hear
know,
me, just
guys.
say yes. Yeah.
Iron Man, se Kizomba personaje. Let us know how is it now.
Yes. I think now it's a better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
yeah, we were in the music. Dear DJs, please feel free to get involved in the discussion here.
well,
Well,
I have one
El
comment
Sol,
before we
El
move
Sol is
forward.
salsa. El Sol is salsa, so I don't want to sound like we're shifting towards Cuban salsa. Because the best, biggest floor, and we're most famous for the crossbody salsa.
Yeah, Anya, I wanted to
Yeah.
actually let something very clear. I think moving to the future, you could even see like the big names right now fusing much more than before, right? So you even like have I've seen like Adolfo in Dacoche dancing a lot of fusing Afro into his
Mm-hmm.
routines, which is something that makes my heart really happy. You've seen Michael Fonts dancing Linha with Juan Matos
Mm-hmm.
in the past, and this is actually for me, it's the gateway to the success to keep growing salsa. It's to not create this separation as much, but being able to having these dancers that are really open to learn everything. I first like let me just recap here. I'm not saying for you that you should fuse anything without the knowledge. I think you should study everything and then go to the root and be able to improve your dance from the masters that can teach you well and eventually become like a superhuman. That's I like to say. Become a superhuman salsa is being able to dance all styles and dance it well.
Mm-hmm. What are your plans in Europe for
My
salsa?
plan, my plans in Europe, um, it's trying to do like that kind of a restart. Like you said, there's not many people that um, they're bringing a sense of newness, not like newness in the content, but newness in the faces, right? Like you said, oh, 10 years of elSol, the names haven't changed much. So being able to catalyze that energy where it could inspire a lot of people to start dancing salsa and loving salsa, like we used to have in 1998 2000s, right? Because I could be new in the name, but I've been dancing for a very long time, so I got lots of different phases. And
Mhm.
I do feel like that we need that, like the kickstart to start again, like bringing new names, bringing new faces, and collaborating more, creating new content, and restarting this process of creation and development within salsa. That's my plan. I think like yeah, a little refresh.
As in creation, do you mean looking for new quality, or for individual quality, or in what sense? How do you get creative for yourself?
Well, if you're gonna talk about that, you gotta give a little bit context of the other side of my life, right? So
Feel
I'm an
free.
engineer. Yeah. So besides being a dancer, I'm also a computer engineer, and I do have experiences in working in social media, in the social media world. I used to work for Facebook, I used to work for Google in the past, and I'm a business guy as well. So I do run a business, um, in the sense of creation. I'm sorry, my mom's dog is barking a little bit. Uh, and I do like love the fact that we could create and bring a lot of creation through business, and and I would say like that day side of my life has given me a lot of I would say discipline to being able to create out of the blue, or even like to freshen the old into the new. In the tech world, like things like it really, I would say like they every 5 years a new old concept becomes new again. And I do like the fact I try to think a lot about how to get the old dancing mentality and transform to the new, with like maybe business, with maybe like these tactics to create new type of events. I would say like, okay, what can I do using social media in order to promote a little bit more salsa, in order to promote a little bit more the social dancing world, in order to promote a little bit more psychology, awareness, communication. I feel like the more we move into the step onto the future, we're becoming more and more sensitive into connection in general. I feel like that the Kizomba world, the bachata world, has figured that a little, I would say like in the 5, 7 years ago. And I feel like how can we harness this very fast-paced dance to become a little bit slightly more sensitive and slightly more connective. So
Mhm.
that's been my challenge for the last 2 years. How can I show my inspiration bucket to people when I'm dancing? How can I promote an experience in this dance that feels slightly disconnected? Like, right, we don't hug, we just like holding hands most of the times. How can we
Actually,
promote that?
you can be very connected when you want to, and I think it also comes from the Zouk experience that you have, right? And the different dances. It's nice to be more versatile. Let me just say hello to our community here. Ilan from Israel was saying hi. He was there at elSol in the front line as well, dancing like crazy. And Swanada, it's one of Eddie's
Swadana from
fans.
London. Yeah,
Yeah, I thank you for
love her.
joining and listening to us. Okay, so more connection. We need more connection.
Well, don't we all? Like,
I
right?
need
It's
more
like,
connection. Since I dance
yeah.
kizomba, I've learned how to be connected, and like I really like to dance salsa in a way that lets me connect with a partner. I don't like to
Yeah.
just execute partner work.
You said something very interesting. You said like, oh, you can be very connected if you want to. This is because of Zook. In fact, I don't think this is because of Zook. This is
Hmm.
because I once I start stepping into psychology, like for some of
Hmm.
you that don't know, I'm a computer engineer, but I did a master degree in psychology. And when I started step into psychology, I started to like really try to find the meaning for everything. Like I'm saying, like,
Hmm.
okay, why do I dance? Why do I spend 5 hours dancing with people, 6, 7 hours in a congress? Why do I do that? And what do I do that for? Right. And I started to like thinking about more, okay, I don't want to dance. I want to create an experience every time I step in the dance floor, even if it's like the most subtle experience. Like you said, actually, one of my
I
favorite
should be
dances.
taking notes for my brand manager. Create an experience.
Right?
Yeah.
One of our
Yeah.
favorite dances when it comes to when we did like, an elSol that we even recorded,
Yeah.
that song first, it's one of my favorite songs of all times. It was like a very good song that you said that you liked it, right? And for me, like at that moment, I said, like, I don't want to show off. I don't want to like overturn. I don't want to overspin. I don't want to like rush around. I just wanted to feel the music. I like to sing. I like to feel the song in my bones. And I said, you know what? Let's put the dance aside a little bit. Let's try to like have like a little bit more connection into this dance. And for me, like that was the best dance of the weekend. And I love that dance very, very much. Shout out to Dan for recording that video. Right?
Yeah.
That video is gonna be like in my heart forever. I love the video. It was one of my favorite social dances of all times. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, what I was thinking, I don't want to go into, I don't want to be controversial, but maybe let's do this. For
That's
me
okay.
as a
That's okay.
girl, I love when a man dances with me on the dance floor and he lets me be me. Because if you control the dance partner too much, like I've been dancing salsa for 20 years, so I can do crazy combos, and it's gonna be like a challenge, like sports. Okay, he's gonna propose these moves, I'm gonna execute them, and then it's gonna be like power, and we're done. 3 minutes, great. We did it. We can. It's like a test. But then I can't feel myself, and I don't have the pleasure of creating this connection with a partner. I can't move in my own unique way, and yeah, it's just so important. And you don't get that much in salsa. You get that with very experienced dancers sometimes, or maybe it's a certain mindset to give space,
It seems
because you
very
also can
interesting.
you can dance in a very powerful way too when you want to just bang 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 moves, right? It's a certain attitude that you're gonna step into the dance with.
Well, I see dancing as a kind of like, yeah, these triangle, right? Which is like one is my partner, another one's me, and the other edge is the music. So when you say like, oh, you can go pen 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 pen, is that some songs bring that kind of nostalgia that
Hmm.
makes me want to dance, right? Like I want to dance, I want to sing, I want to go crazy. And sometimes when you go to that extent, you do, it's almost like you have to lose connection with yourself and with your partner, right? Like you're like, the song right now is the more important than both of us. But there are songs that brings me like more introspection, right? When I'm dancing with someone, I kind of just want to see the person dancing. It's so strange because when I'm teaching, I sometimes tell people, I'm like, I know you guys can do a lot of things, can do like partner work, cross body leads, like triple turns, but there are some songs that's literally asking you to just like take a breath, just like here, just flow. And I do love to find that in itself, especially if it's romantic. I love romantica. Romantica, it's like the type of music that brings me to that, to that cocoon. I
Mm.
would say like it makes me like just want to embrace, and then bring the person right here, and then just
Mm.
dance, right? Connection. You're saying about like, in the salsa world, it becomes like this almost like a sporty mentality about like, oh, what can we do, or and what can we not do, right? It's like,
Mm.
what can we
Mm.
execute? The more and more I get older, I would say I'm still young. I'm 32, guys. The older I get, the more I see that I have to do less and less in order to be able to shine. So the spotlight versus my skills versus my partner's skills, I feel like what is getting more and more the attraction from a third party perspective, it's
Mhm.
actually not being skillful. It's more about, okay, like, wow, it's so nice to watch them dancing because they smile at each other, they look at each other. It looks like the guy is like, yeah, parading the partner, right? That kind of thing, that men artifact,
Mhm.
it's like what is catching more and more attention. You can see in the social media world, every video that like it goes crazy out there, like when it comes to views and likes, are usually the ones that are the most connected, the ones like that the partner's parading the partner, like there's a little shake, there's like a little, the little swag. There's not much, they need to like the triple, five, six, seven pirouettes. It's like more about like the feeling and the vibe of courtesy. And I'm like adapting that to my dance, like top, bottom, left, right. I love that so much. I become less
So,
and less.
okay, so how do you teach that?
Well, it's a very interesting question. It's very intricate. You can't teach people to, uh, you can't teach people how to have swag, right? It's like, slowly you have to make them see. It's almost like you have to cross that bridge with them. That's why, like the choreography class coming a full circle, it's like a lot of repetition. I repeat the moves in so many ways, in different vibes with different songs, so I make them feel what I feel from a visual perspective. I can talk the in and out. I say like, you guys have to feel like this. Actually, in Germany, the last class, right? I was saying, you walk, show your neck, like your boss, like I'm gonna beat you up, like that, feeling that energy, because you have to almost act, right? You have to feel, and real acting. Talking about like the movies, is like the real acting is actual feeling. Acting doesn't exist. Feeling the feeling is the real deal, right?
Mm.
So when you're
Mm.
dancing, if you're not fully feeling the feeling, it's actually funny to say that, fully feeling the feeling, right? So you're just technically just faking it. So I tell people, I it's almost like I teach people psychology and dancing at the same time, because I need to make people feel what I feel, and for that, it's like I have to again promote an experience. If I need to make people feel dramatic, I need to somehow make them feel sad. I need to make them feel pain. Right? It's like, oh, if I like happiness, I need like close your eyes, thinking about like your life, abundance, and the universe, and all the great things that the world could provide. So it's almost like a psychological exercise that I have to do day in and out.
Okay, well, let's talk more about the universe, because you have also a very developed concept. But let me just address the community. Richie from Amsterdam was saying hi to us. We have Daria Esmin sending fire icons, and Swandana from London. I know you have a lot to say about this personality connection. Jessica, hi Jessica. Jessica
I
Kides is
haven't seen
amazing.
her for so long, Jessica Kiedis. Oh wow.
Yeah, I think Jessica is based in US now, right?
Now it's based, I think
So,
she's based in US. The last time I saw
yeah,
her was in Seattle. Like I think it was at least 10 years ago. Yeah.
yeah, badass dancer. Thank you for listening.
Badass, badass. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, about the universe now. So tell us a bit. Let's inspire people to think.
The universe, well, which of the planets would you like me to talk about?
The abundance and manifestation.
Well, yes.
Tampa, says Jessica. Okay.
Oh, she's in Tampa. Yeah. Well, again, this is a topic that I love to talk about, right? So, I when you talk about the creation, the change, the future, I do have this ideal that the world is abundant. Like, we don't need to be tapping into other people's universe. I would say it's almost like everyone has a universe within, and we all have something good to bring. We also all have a choice. Just they're good in people, right? Good in people, good in the arts. Like become your own sun, like create your own constellation and your solar system. So I think, like I mentioned to you a while ago, the power of you know the power of energy and how could that affect the room. So I heard that not too long ago. One of like the sweetest things um, regarding me, like when I went to an event, someone said, "Oh my God, Eddie! Like I've known you for a very long time, and I've seen you so many places in the world, and I can literally tell you that whenever you are like you change the party, like your energy changed the party, like, right? It's like it's infectious. It's like a virus. It's like you're there and you change the party. Like your energy is good, you bring that energy, you're always smiling, you're always dancing with people, you're always singing, you like and actually I'm gonna say the name. I heard this from two like of my very good friends and DJs. One of them is um from I forgot his name now. I blanked his name. From Colombia. The DJ was in your party.
Julian, the Duke.
Julian Duke. Yeah, I heard
Hi,
him from.
Julian.
Yeah,
Amazing person.
yeah, the Duke, and he said that he's like, man, playing for you, it's such a pleasure because you like it communicating with us, right? And I was like, okay, Ilan said it, and especially with the 10 bottles of champagne for everyone.
It's a good
Well,
point, but it's
Well, at that point it was at the end when I was tired of drinking rum and coke. Yeah, but yeah. So I think like that's the best compliment you could possibly give to anyone when you say like, okay, whenever you're here, the room feels full, and when you're not,
so.
it feels
Swanada
emptier.
says, "My cousins called you a beacon of light, Eddie. They said you just lit everyone up from the inside. That stayed with me."
Oh, the twins. Yes, for them. Like I met the twins in Paris, like her cousins,
Mhm.
and they said like, "Oh my God, like you're really nice. Your energy is amazing," and I do like I believe that like at the end of the day, um, I know I teach dancing, I promote art in general, but the only thing that I could bring to the table it's they experience from my light. Like, at the end of the day, people want to feel what they want to feel, and they want to feel happy, they want to feel inspired, and that's what I give. Right? That's
So
like
how?
my tattoo right here, right here.
Mhm,
Just give. It's my newest tattoo, and the other
mhm,
ones be present, right? And
mhm.
and 5, 6, 7, 8, right?
So how do
So
you generate that energy in you? Uh, how
how do
can
I
we all
generate?
become like radiators? This give, give, give.
Well, whenever people like find out that the secret of living is giving, I
Mm-hmm.
think they're gonna be a much happier bunch of people. I would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's another thing too. Like 7 years ago, I made a decision to only do the things that I love. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
connected to my heart. That's why I tattooed in my neck too, my heart, right? So I'm very connected to my heart, very like to a, to a level that it's ineffable. I would say there's no way to explain. Like for me, being in the room, being in the Congress, be teaching, having people in my class who take my class, that makes my heart so happy, like so happy that I cannot even explain. Like I can't. So for me, I never take for granted. I've been teaching dancing for the longest time, for like right now at this point, like almost 20 years, right? And like the feeling of having people to consume all the craziness that come from my head. Right? And some people pay a very large amount of money for it. It's like it's in, I can't explain. So I just can't take it for granted. That the love that I feel for dancing and for arts, it's hard to beat. And that alone is the special artifact from my product. It's like
Mhm.
it's love. I
So
still love.
how have you survived all these years in the dance industry without getting burnt out, or did you have any lower points? What helped you come out of them? How do you keep going?
Well, the lower point, okay, that's a very good question because I started with samba and eventually went with tango, bolero, and then I went to zouk. So the lower point is that I've never been afraid of being a beginner again. Never. Like,
Mhm.
so for me, every time when I felt like, okay, I have the mastery of this, I'm not feeling the flow anymore. It's like the butterflies are not flying wild anymore. What's next? Right. So I'm like, what's next? And it's funny because I've always chosen like the hardest dances because I would say like the drug would last longer, right? So like somebody Gaffier is one of the hardest dances in the world, right? It's like it's so difficult because it's syncopated, it's so hard to understand. It's like
Mhm.
there's a lot of feeling and emotions, and then tango, a little bit in the bolero and zouk. So for me, it was that like for I never got bored because whenever I felt uninspired, I would like find out a new vertent, a new way for me
So so
to
the
define
secret
myself.
is to keep challenging yourself, like change, like something new, something different,
Well, it's
something.
not a bullying like that, right? It's like the secret. It's like okay, the secret of like being inspired forever is always like challenge yourself. That goes into like the BS bucket that we talk about.
Mhm.
It's like okay, the solution, right? It's like the solution is like you just keep working hard and you're gonna always
Yeah.
be inspired. No, it's not like that. It's like there's
Mhm.
some people that feel inspired in general, and there are people
Mhm.
that don't like the work too. They don't like the grind. They do like
Mhm.
it like to feel more comfortable, and that's okay. Right? I just feel like this secret for me, what I promote is that
Mhm.
we all humans and we all need to feel things, right? It's like we if you want to feel like your heart beating again, then maybe you should surround with those that make your heart beat faster, right? It's
Mhm.
hard for you to build a different recipe if you like use the same ingredients, right? Like that's for me, my the I've been dancing salsa
Mhm.
for about 16 years now at this point, 15, 16, and professionally for about 12. Like I had to like refine myself within salsa through Cuban, right? So was that
Mhm.
process happened 7 years ago. I was like, okay, I love like dancing mambo. I love dancing mambo, but I found myself that became like a little repetitive process. And I said, you know what? I need a new juice. And what
Mhm.
was the new juice? Tap into something completely different. And that made me feel like the most, disconnected and weird at first, because they'll tell you jumping into like an Afro-Cuban class when you have zero basic for it, it makes you feel weird because like you have to all the parts of the body, right? And that made me so happy because it made me like listen to new music, find new people, hear new, new concepts, get inspired by new people. By the way, shout out to one of my favorite teachers in the Cuban world. Damaris is my best friend as well. Damaris Echevarria. She taught me so much in the last 7 years that I could not even like have space to thank this lady, right?
Mhm.
So yes, reinvent yourself by finding those that make your heart beat faster. Find a new tribe if
That's
that's
what
necessary.
happened with me. I mean, I get that every now and then. 10 years ago, I brought Zouk to Poland because I had a moment when I was bored with salsa, and that lasted a couple of months, and then I went back to dancing salsa, and now I have this with kizomba since 2 years. It's been 2 years, and I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. There's so much to learn. All the Afro house, the Afro beats, different quality of movement, of stepping, the art of dancing on flats and playing with your legs, the slides, more like a street feel. That I was a ballerina, and then the heels, and it's a different way of moving, and now I have to like relearn everything I know, and it's very developing. Like it makes you gain different qualities in your movement in your body.
Yeah. I
So
love that aspect. I love the learning. I'm addicted to learning.
mm,
Like that's the thing. I think that's the secret for me to never get bored. I'm addicted to
mm.
learning. I love learning so much. Yeah.
Okay, so you said you're 32. So over these years, did you have any transforming experience, like the lowest point or the most inspiring point that you would like to share?
Well, in the dance world and my personal life.
Whatever you want to say, whatever makes sense to your story.
Well, um, I got in my life. I think a big part of the reason why I'm so interested in talking about love was because I got clinically burned out in
Hmm.
tech. So I overworked for a while. I think it was about like 6 years ago. I used to work about like maybe 90 to 100 hours a week, which is a lot. So much. It's kind of having two full-time jobs, plus dancing, plus doing everything else
Hmm.
with tech. I'm talking here, and I got signed off by a doctor saying that I couldn't touch a computer for a year, and that like that. Imagine not touching a computer, no cell phones, nothing, because it would give me a phobia. Like it's almost like having that feeling of I don't know, like claustrophobia, but not being inside anywhere. Right? It's kind of like
Hmm.
get like some sort of anxiety, and that taught me so much about being connected to my heart, about like not doing
Hmm.
things for the sake of doing,
Hmm.
and that like that I would say like that point was the worst time of my life, alongside with my surgery in my arm. Like
Hmm.
when I was 17 in Brazil, I had the accident. Right, remember I have a surgery here. I
Hmm.
have these. I have a plate, 10, 10 screws and a plate. I broke my arm like badly, like 9 parts, and then 5 doctors. I went to like the hospital. And I went to 5 doctors, and I remember 5 doctors telling me that I would have to amputate my arm, like
Hmm.
repeatedly, like saying like, "Oh, there's no way to salvage this." And I was like, "Okay, here we go." I'm 17 years old, like a dancer, and having to cut my arm off. So like those 2 points taught me the fine, sorry, taught me
Swanetta is saying you two should present a dance psychology show every day. I love his energy so much, so powerful.
yeah. Thank you. So those two like lower points were very clarifying. I would say it really made me like go deep and have to relearn about myself and my
Hmm.
art and everything. Like it was I can't talk about this because I water up like a little bit, literally.
Hmm.
I remember my mom saying this, like, look, 5 doctors told you you have to do this. Like it's time for us to just like accept. And I'm
Hmm.
like, no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. And I was really into soccer at the time. And there was like, yeah, there was a time that Ronaldo injury, like not Cristiano Ronaldo, but Ronaldo
Mm-hmm.
from Brazil, he injured
Mm-hmm.
his knee, and these doctors saved his knee, and he continued playing. And he's from Rio. And I remember we didn't have money to like go to this doctor. I went to his office and I begged for him to save my arm, and he did the
Mm-hmm.
surgery for free. So that moment, I was 17, and that was a big life lesson that um, that if you give, like, it's that's it. Like, you need to worry about nothing else. That guy changed my life forever. I'm gonna be forever grateful for Dr. Hunko.
Mm-hmm.
Forever. I had no money to pay this guy. No money. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
was he had a surgery in Ronaldo, and then he did a surgery in my arm because he saw me like
Mm-hmm.
literally like crying like a kid in his office
Mm-hmm.
to save my arm, and he did. I'm able to dance. I won several competitions. I am able to do any trick, and he literally saved my arm. And the computer thing, like the year that I was off computers, I had to relearn about how to live with myself. That I was like too much in a virtual world, and that made me like really connect into like my art again, being able to express myself better, being able to be more vulnerable, which is something that I'm like not afraid of being. I
Mm-hmm.
love talking about love. I love talking about experiences. I love like hearing people's stories. I love laughing with people. I love that so much, and that's why it makes me slightly different from a lot of other instructors, because I'm so open to be open, to be like connect. And that in the salsa world is just kind of new, because I don't know many people that are like that in the salsa world. Sorry for my my contemporary friends, but I know like the salsa world is a little bit like more of a close, like, it's not closed mentality, but a little bit like closed off uh when it comes to like being vulnerable and open, right?
Yeah, I think everyone is an image. It depends on their image, and we think that the image we should transmit to the world is strong and you know neutral. And yeah, actually, for me,
Yeah.
I also have the experience that when I share the most difficult thoughts, that I get the most connection with people, because this is, we're all dealing with hardship also. I actually have a similar experience because I broke my foot when I was 25 on stage. I fell from an acrobatic move, and that was a time when I was an international performer. It was all my life. I had a company. I was doing also my master degrees. I was very busy, and but I was addicted to performing and to being important, in the salsa scene, that people would buy my flight and pay me just to dance. And I remember that was a really good reality check, because then I thought, okay, so I'm so involved here, and then if I get sick, this doesn't exist, and I had that experience very early too. So I realized that I have to make money with my brain, also, or a little bit more maybe, and dance for pleasure, because this was crazy. Then I thought, okay, I broke my foot. I needed money for an operation, which I got from my parents. I needed money for rehab. I needed money to survive that I had from my company. But then I thought, okay, pregnancies, kids. I cannot always just be dependent on whether I'm going to perform or not. So actually,
Yeah.
very early, I started to build a business because of that experience.
Well, this is actually like, I totally agree with you on this, and I think like that in that around that time I found out that as well. I was like in a very high point into like my career, and then that happened, and then we had another reality check as well with COVID, right? COVID times.
Mm,
It's my realization when it comes to the artistic world slash sportsmanship, sports of dancing,
mm,
is that it can be like very I would say like it doesn't forgive. It's like
mhm,
aesthetics, it will fade away. So if you don't bring something, an experience, I would say like an experience that make people remember you for who you were, like your aesthetics will slightly fade out. And that's like
mhm,
I feel like that's the battle of having to input some sort of image when it comes to being an artist, is that I've talked with so many people, and people have, it's almost like they have that fear of being irrelevant, like as an artist. It's like age catches everyone eventually, right? So, and I
Mm.
feel like a lot of people have to kind of almost impose like their place under the sun. And I feel like slowly I'm trying to like emanate that kind of energy, that it's much more important for you to live the legacy of who you were rather than all the seven spins that you can do, right? It's
Mhm.
like what I'm starting to understand that, and I feel like that I don't even care much about the likes and the exposure and all. I just care about like I enter in a room and people will remember that that experience with me in it was good, right?
Mhm.
Regardless of what I was doing. Like, was it there? I was dancing. I was like opening 10 bottles of champagne on Sunday with Ilan, right? And that's the thing. Like, that's what people we remember. It's like elSol 2022 was fire because we all danced on the stage. Ilan posted this the other day. He's like,
Mhm.
the same corner, the same
Mhm.
time, the same place, right? No
In
one
March.
like in March. In March right now, yeah. The same
Yeah.
corner, the same place.
Mm.
Right? I talk to the Maris a lot about this. I'm like, look, it's like you have an incredible talent. Like now, like people will remember like how you inspired them, not about how many
Mm.
Afro movements you can do.
Mm.
We talk
You
a
know,
lot about this.
I had this experience when my festival started to grow, and it started to grow immensely in 2012, 10 years ago. And before I was a school owner, a performer. I had run teams. I taught internationally, and then suddenly the festival was becoming so good that people would write me more about, hey, can I come to your event, than like, hey, I want to book you. And my ego was suffering because I felt like, oh, I want to be wanted and, and popular, and it felt like they want something from me. But then I realized that the work that I do, providing this experience for the community, is a lot bigger than me teaching workshops for, I don't know, 50, 100 people. um, that I didn't have such an impact as I had by organizing this meeting, and feeding people's passion. So, but it took me years to understand and accept. I felt like disregarded as a dancer, but it's probably because I wasn't that good, or that inspiring.
Well,
I
not
had other skills.
necessarily. Like there are levels of good, right? So it's like you said, um, there are levels of good. So your impact is much more on a macro level than in a micro
Mm,
level, right?
mm,
It's like you're in a great insane dancer. What you're talking about, you're a great dancer, right? Like, and you're so versatile. You're able to dance anything, right? I can guarantee you that you're very qualified, much more qualified than a lot of people I know, right? To be a
mm,
little bit like you, to set up a little bit of fire, right? But some people, they just do have the energy to impact people in a macro level. I tell you from tech, like I was always super talented at coding. Like I'm a coder, right? So I love to code.
mhm,
But eventually I was like, I can work with this person because this person doesn't know as much as I know. Coming from like being
mhm,
a standoffish guy
mhm,
before college, I was like, I can't work with this guy. This guy doesn't know how to code. How can he lead me? I can work with this guy. And then eventually, I'm like, okay, I got to move up the ladder. So let me just become a senior developer. Okay, oh, I can work with this team. I got to go up because like they can't do that. And I started going up, up, and up, and up in the ladder to understand that like my place wasn't coding. Like I have impact in coding because it can go fast, but I had so much more impact at the very top of the ladder as a leader, like as a CTO, as a CEO, founder,
mhm,
because I did have that visionary mindset. So people would like profit so much more from my skills in a macro level than
mhm,
in a micro level building a website, right?
mhm,
So
mhm, mhm,
I gave in the technical side. I still code sometimes, right? You saw me coding sometimes. So I still code. I love to code, but I do understand my purpose. And then a
mhm,
full circle talking about like what is new coming to the dance scene is that my purpose is in the macro level. Yes, I started running like now the podcast, right? Like the real talk.
mhm.
It's on Spotify, but guys, just look on Spotify. Real talk. There's one episode right there. We're gonna have another one right on the 22nd. And And my goal is to be able to inspire people on a macro level, be able to talk to those that's been like managing our dance, our dance world,
Mhm.
and making them like kind of emanate that kind of energy that could bring the newness that
Mhm.
we're talking about, and it could elevate the space and make people more euphoric and inspired. So that's my purpose. But guess what? Teaching dance is part of that as well, right? Having people in the room is part of that as well, because I do love that too. So it's using all channels for that. So
Mhm.
it's just kind of like accept your purpose. I think your purpose is in the macro level from my perspective, right?
Mhm.
It's hard
Yeah,
sometimes.
yes, I mean, I'm sharing this because I know that also a lot of dancers may be looking for what to do aside from dance, or after dance. That on one hand is a dream profession, but then after a certain years it also becomes hard. So this is why I say this. I just had a thought that escaped after what you were saying. Um, anyway, lost my thoughts.
Much juice.
There was
Yes.
something about transitioning, transitioning the events. Anyway, keep talking. Say something interesting.
Say something interesting. Okay, guys, for those of you that are listening to this, right, I just want to tell you something. If you don't know me, please come and say hi, and I'm gonna want to know you, right? Everyone brings something to the table. Everyone. Could be like the little lady that just started dancing, or the little sir that's sitting on the corner and just grab a couple of dances. In fact, in Lisbon, there's this guy that goes to all socials, and he's in a wheelchair. And I look at him, I'm like, okay, it's kind of ironic going to like, I talked to him about this. I'm like, it's a little bit ironic. You come salsa dancing in a wheelchair. It's kind of interesting. And he's like, I said, please don't take offense, because I'm not trying to be ironic and trying to be mean. And he's like, no, it's like I come dancing because what makes me feel here, not what makes me feel in my legs. I can't feel my legs, but the space and the environment makes me feel a better human
Mhm.
being. I wouldn't trade these for life. He said that to me, and I'm like, wow, like that's crazy.
Hmm.
Imagine
That,
wheelchair
that's
dancing salsa. That's
that's
crazy.
amazing. That's amazing because also salsa has this energy towards the outside. So when you're watching people dance, you're kind of feeling it with them. It's like you're dancing, you're getting the energy. Like when you go to a kizomba party, you're just really observing people having fun, but you're not getting anything out of it. It's almost like being indiscreet, looking at them, because it's such an intimate dance. And in salsa, it's like it invites you. So I'm sure that he was enjoying the energy. And now I remember what I wanted to say. I remembered when my daughter was 3 years old, and I finished dancing with one international partner. I was working more with local dancers, and I had a proposition to dance on the international stage again. And we even met for a rehearsal. And then I remember it was the hardest decision in my life because I wanted to travel, I wanted to be on stage, but then I was also thinking, okay, this will not change anything in my life. I have my day routine, right? So my daughter, my business, and then I'm going to travel every weekend. And if we are successful, then I'm going to travel even more, even further. Maybe I'm going to make a little bit more money, but it will not also be relevant. But my life will not change. And I walked away from that. Then later, there were moments when I regretted it, because I chose to use my energy differently. Because it wasn't like I'm going to build a theater spectacle now, or I'm going to shape new dancers. It was still a 3-minute salsa show plus 3 or 4 classes. So I wasn't ready to walk away, but I walked away to get involved into something else, into family, and more into business. And then the business became really successful. So
Do you know what's interesting about this?
yeah.
It's you came back. Sometimes timing,
Mm.
it's works with us, and sometimes like the time is necessary. So it's not like, yeah, okay, every time you feel bored or like feel uninspired that you're just gonna find the next drug, right?
Mhm.
So like for you, it was necessary to step out to actually feel and to even observe, to put like the real, like realness
Yeah, get
sunglasses
a
to understand
get
what it
a
would,
yeah, get a new perspective.
get a
Also
new perspective.
reflect of
Yeah.
what's my spot. Where am I? Where do I belong? What am I good at? because then I discovered, for instance, that I'm not really a very good entertainer. I don't like to stand in front of people and make things fun. I'm kind of an introvert, serious person. I like to laugh, but my humor is very, it's not a popular humor for a class. So then I
Yeah,
had to find a different place, and it was better. It was painful because this addiction of performing and being important and getting applause was just, oh my god.
that's the wave you're surfing on, right? So like that's the
Yeah,
thing. Like you said, it was 3 minutes on stage from your
yeah,
perspective, from that angle at that time.
mhm,
For me,
yeah,
it was never 3 minutes on stage. For me, it was like an opportunity to like touch people, right?
mhm,
That's the thing. Perspective is everything.
yeah.
And again, we could eat the same pasta every day, and you could like feel all the different flavors of of the sauce, or you can just say like, "Oh, I'm eating pasta every day." Right? It's like I want to eat rice. So how you see things, how you like, you know, catapult your energy towards something,
Mhm.
it's actually more important than the thing itself. So that's why when you say like what you bring, what you're gonna bring to the salsa world, I'm like, I don't know. I haven't figured that out, but I know the energy that I want to bring to it. Right. So it's like I know it's a salsa dance. I know it's gonna be 3 minutes dance in the mechanical perspective. But when it comes to
Wait,
the
wait, 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 something happened with my sound.
um can you hear me? Can you hear me? No.
I think I have to interrupt this because I have like a weird sound.
Weird
Like
sound.
I can't hear you. Something happened. Wait.
Can you hear me
I
now?
think I have to listen to you on laptop. Wait.
Uh,
Okay.
can you hear? No.
I can hear you now on the laptop. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Now
How
I
about
think I'm gonna have echo issue on the phone. I have to reconnect. Something was just it was like construction sound, like I couldn't for a moment here. I
okay?
disconnect. Okay. But there were I missed some comments. Wait, wait. As I had that problem,
There, yeah.
what's the advice that you would give in order to reach a very good level in creating shows and performing? Daria is asking.
Well, let me just take one off so I cannot hear myself. Okay. So I don't believe in performing. I believe in just presenting it. So if you're going on stage, you should be, presenting a feeling, right? If the show is meant to be fun, it will be fun. If the show is meant to be dramatic, then you should bring the drama inside of you. But performance, if you go like to the very literal like meaning of the word, is definitely like show on something, which means like faking something, right? I don't believe in performing. I believe in being real on stage. That's why for me, it's like there's like this debate about like, oh, a good social dance is not a good performer. I don't know if I agree with that because if you like a great social dancer that you bring the emotions, you most likely can train to bring those emotions into the upon the stage.
Mhm. So I should not ask you, do you prefer social dancing or
I
performing?
like everything. There's dancing in it. I like everything.
Daria is saying she's an Afro house and Kuduro dancer. Nice.
Look at that. They teach that so much in Afro House.
Mhm.
So much. She knows that about like the difference of there's no difference between performing and just dancing. It's all one. Hip hop, they found out that about that like long ago, right? It's like they just dance. There's no such a thing about oh I need to be bigger because I'm on stage.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's interesting now because a lot of there's this trend, demos, uh, less shows. A lot of people train together, practice for the demo, not for the show. And then the question is the demo a demonstration of the class, or is the demo the show that they do after every class? What do you think about that?
Well, I do understand from a business perspective. That's very nice for you to have a neat video, right? Like
Mhm.
having an organized, well performed. To use the word perform, quote
Mhm.
unquote, well performed dance. I see it. It brings a lot of marketing, right? And I don't have any bad feelings about it because at the end of the day, it is some sort of business, right? So like they're like selling the product, and that is part of the game as well. Even like I love creating videos as well. Even the video that we did, right?
Mhm.
We had to rehearse a little bit, right? So it's technically performing a little bit, but we rehearsed just enough so we could actually bring the emotions, right?
Mhm.
But it's hard. I think like for me, is it's part of the game. I mean, I don't like how can I say emphasizing it too much. I don't think that's what should be for 100%
Mhm.
of the cases, but I think it's important as well for you to have like a good when you're hiring someone, a new artist, you what you do first, you go on their Instagram to check their videos, right? But now if they only have videos that's completely like sloppy, you're probably gonna think twice to talk about them. So you do need those, right? You need some of those videos as well.
Mhm. The question is always, is the most useful class, is it the most spectacular class, as in the context
Spectacular in which sense?
is in the context of teaching, because we always get a spectacular demo. Is every
Mm.
class like the demo? I think the demo is just becoming detached from the class, from the actual teaching.
Mm.
So it's like an artist is performing 4 shows after 4 classes. Like
Well,
that's not.
that's another thing that I'm is different from a lot of people as well. I like to doing all my demos with everyone in the class, right? All the videos I like to get a video of everyone dancing,
Mhm.
not just me dancing. I feel well. I'm so open and giving that I feel that if I do that, I'm gonna feel slightly narcissistic. If I'm getting like, okay, camera, come on me, I'm just gonna be myself for 2 minutes and everybody watch. I don't know, like that concept makes me like think a little bit that it's slightly narcissistic for me, right? But sometimes I can go crazy too. I'm like, okay, 5 minutes, like let me just do my thing, and then everyone comes in, right? I feel like it's a give and take, but most of the times, if I only do that, I feel like that I'm not giving. I'm not like standing by my own word, my own product.
What would you advise yourself at the age of 19 from today's perspective?
What would I advise myself for like 20 years ago, 10, 15? Well, to be less groupy and
Mhm.
be more myself.
Okay.
You know why? I'll give you this. Like I told you, my aesthetics are very different. Like it's slightly out of the template, right? I'm too tall.
Hmm.
My legs are too big. I'm 192, right? So I'm like really tall for a dancer. So everything for me, I need to work 3 times harder to learn. It's so much more body to deal with, right? And to look, I would say like to look gracious. It takes a lot of work for me. It always took,
Hmm.
and yeah. So for me, in order for me to fit in, I had to almost like sustain this character that was always, oh, I need, in order for me to be with the best, I need to, in order for me to be the best, I need to be with the best. And I kind of lost my personality a bit
Hmm.
in that time. I won a lot of things. I participated in a lot of things. I was well liked, but I never felt that it was genuine and
Hmm.
honest. Well, time told me that, right? So I stopped dancing for 3 years, and like when I came back, like I said, it changed. It wasn't the same, right? So, and now COVID came, and I already had a different mentality. I was 2 years kind of out of the game, but I travel. and I felt that people still like knew who I was for who really was, not for what I brought to the table as a groupie. Let's put it like that. You know.
We have a comment here.
Yeah.
Someone saying 8 and 1. It looks like a girl. That it's funny to be less groupie. That's a good one. Daria saying, I think the class is for the students, and every teacher should make sure they felt it and learned something. I think people should have the opportunity to dance during the demo. Thank you for
Yeah.
the
So Daria, if you're coming to elSol
discover
Spring,
new talents. She's saying, yeah, good point.
yeah. So if you're coming to elSol Spring, join my class that you're gonna show. You're gonna dance with me in the video at the very end.
Nice one. What are your plans now for the next 3? No, let's take it 5 or 10 years. Where do you see yourself? Your
5, 10
vision,
years.
not a
Okay, I'm
plan.
gonna tell you my vision.
Yeah.
It's a very mechanical vision, but I'm gonna tell it anyway. So my plan for this year is to really boost the Real Talk podcast. So I would like to talk to people, connect with people. And I'm saying people, I'm talking about like the artists of our community, talking about like the top artists.
Mm-hmm.
Ask those questions that's intricate, being make them talk. Because I feel like people want to connect with the human side of the artist more than their skills, I would say. That's one. Second one is like I'm gonna do a very hard work to promote myself in the social media world because I do want the channel to being able to make the change. Like for instance, like I know I know what I can do with the attention, so I want a lot of it, so I can build up, reshape the dancing, and even like trying to bring a lot of good into it, like kind of there's these changes. So imagine if I have 1 million followers, like I can easily make that change because I have like 1 million people tuned in to what I would be saying. So it's easy to promote new things. It's easy to promote like new experiences. It's easy to create new connections. So my goal is that, like, I really want to use social media in the favor of changing for the better the dance community. So that's my goal for the next year or two. But in the long run, I do want to be able to look back and feel that we tripled like the amount of dances in the world, you know, or that's it. I think like if you can have like more of a 15, 20,000 people events like over the year, not just one or two,
Mm-hmm.
right? One or two during the year, I think that would make me like really happy and make it a little bit more also accessible, the event. I feel like for whatever it's worth, it's still kind of like a little bit of an expensive experience still. I think like make it slightly more accessible, which is like make it a more businessy, like trying to include more of the media to partake with the costs to make it like more accessible for people, right? Like having a congress with the price of having a congress with the price of a concert would be like kind of a good goal, a good target, right? You could go like with 30, 40 euros, you could have like a full weekend. I think that's something to aim on, right? I think that's my goal for the next 5, 6 years, make a very accessible experience so you could have more and more and more people earn in the quantity, less in the quality. I think for now, I think we need the quantity a little bit. We need to like grow a little bit more the community.
Yeah, especially for salsa.
Especially for salsa. Yeah.
I think I have run out of questions. Would you like to add anything? Any message to the community?
I do. People from the salsa world, I know it's been a time where it feels like that's what I hear. By the way, I'm gonna say like a feedback that I hear over and over. It's like Bachati's taking over. What is sensual? Whatever.
No one's
Kizomba.
taking over.
No one's taking over. No one. No one. The salseros are there. The kizomberos are there. But there is a trend that if you go from like the hard metrics, you can see a trend that like social, I would say like sensual dancers, kizomba, zouk, sensual bachata, they are growing because they are doing something right. they're kind of like following the trends. They're like uh, they all look good. We have to say that. Like I've never seen a sexual bachata that look like okay. Like they all look amazing, right? They look beautiful. They're beautiful. It is pleasing to the eyes. So they are doing something right. So for the other communities, I do see you. I'm a salsero. I dance other dances as well, but I do see you. And I think one advice that I'm gonna be giving is that I read this in one book. Is this we are dissing and gossiping a lot about the people that we should be learning from.
Mm.
So I read this in a book and I'm like, oh my God, this is actually like my my motto of the
I have
year.
to wait, put that quotes as I'm posting this video. We should be learning from the
No,
people we
we're
gossip.
like we are dissing and
Mhm,
gossiping a lot about the people that we should be learning from.
mhm, mhm,
So I feel like that I think we the salsa world should be more connected with other styles, learn a little bit more about what they're doing well. We should be open to change. We should be open to innovate. I'm not saying that we should erase the history of salsa. In fact, I do like to the reverse the pipeline. I think like one thing that I saw myself as a student is that at the very beginning there is such an urge for people for the instructors to teach the history of salsa that sometimes it push a lot of people away from
too
the
much
dance.
information.
Too much
It's
information.
too much
Exactly. It
information.
should be a little bit more accessible. Make it a fun first. Make the person fall in love with the dance, feel the thrill, and then eventually the person is gonna feel inspired enough to learn more and more and more. Right.
Mhm,
I think like we should reverse that a little bit, which is something that I feel like Bachata is doing a very good job. All they want
yes.
to do is like one, two, three tap, one, two, three tap, and then get you dancing, and then put you good music to hear, right? Like yeah, like nice DJs are playing amazing music. You know, it's a good fusion. So you catch all the I would say like all the tribes, and once they're in. You can like you should make them like consume anything you want, right? I think we should do that with salsa. We should learn a little bit about with other communities, a little bit how to be more. It's like the the hanging fruit. The salsa hanging fruit is way too high. We need
It's
to
like
make
you
it like
make it more pop, more accessible,
yeah,
easier, more fun. Mhm.
yeah.
Mm.
I think it is fun, but I feel the hanging fruit, like I just said, it's still way too high in
Mhm.
my opinion. And we have to be able to like make it a little bit closer to the person to be able to like okay, oh it's just that. Like for instance, like there is something that people talk a lot. It's like you paint this picture that salsa is difficult, and I don't think so. Like I think salsa it's actually like very easy for it to start, very like well thought. Like I see it here, Seo Fernandez. We have like amazing instructors right here that's been doing a great job like over the years, bringing a lot of like good content. If you ask each of them, they're gonna say salsa is not difficult to learn, but somehow there's this picture that it is difficult. You know, so that's another one for 5 years that salsa isn't difficult. I want to change that perception a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a nice one. Guys, you can meet Eddie at elSol Spring Edition. We're very excited about this new edition of elSol. Now we're going to do it twice a year, November in Katowice and Warsaw in March. The prices range from 165 euros for a VIP pass to 82 euros for a bachata pass. So you have a variety of prices and different access. You can only do bachata, you can only do salsa, you can only do kizomba, or you can do it in mixed versions. So if you have any doubts, go to our website and read it, ask us questions. Actually, I'll be posting a reel next week explaining also what is what and why. So you have a visual clarity as well. Eddie, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you. And one last thing, guys. I'm gonna be an El Spring El Sol. Sorry, El Sol Spring. I just
Edition.
confused. It's spring edition, and I'm gonna be doing something for the very first time. It's I'm gonna be teaching this special class, 2 hour class on Saturday, which is like the choreography. I've never taught 2 hours class in one event at once. I've never seen that actually, like kind of in the middle of the day. So it's like a new concept from elSol, and they invited me to like teach my choreography class. I hope to see you guys there because I'm gonna be bringing my best energy, right? So I just wanted to bring that there. Saturday, it's gonna be this choreography class for 2 hours. Bring a bottle of water and let's do this.
And then Friday you're gonna be doing the tumbao, right?
The Tumbao 360. Yes.
So it's more. I put it at first because it's more like a class for people to get connected to the music, right? And then you go hard on them.
Yeah. So Tumbao 360 is just like you're going over the music, very slow. Like we're gonna get like steps and associate to the music and associate to the instruments, bring a little bit of that musical background, I'd say. And in a format that's very easy to digest. You don't need to be like thinking about a lot of you know, a lot of content that bores you up. Now it's gonna be like a very fun and interesting way to feed you music, feed you dancing, feed you like steps, and combine everything with a tiny little choreography and be able to execute in different formats.
Actually, it's a really fun class. After 20 years of dancing, I don't get bored. Like it's still interesting to just when you really immerse yourself in the music, and you always get connected better.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon, guys. And end of the week tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central European Time, I'll be connected with Charlie Garcia from New York. So he can also talk about his vision of dance. Right now, he's also coming to elSol Spring Edition. So if you want to ask some questions, make sure you join us at 7. Thank you so much and see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.